I would like to invite scholar, literary theorist, and feminist critic Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak to deliver her keynote speech. Opor, her first book in Bengali, was released on her 80th birthday on February 24th this year. Published by Anushtup, it is a collection of articles and lectures. She was awarded the Padma Bhushan in 2013.
Hello.
We are so honored that Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak is here. And this is a real privilege for the 8th Kolkata Literature Festival. And we will start her keynote soon. May I invite Professor Anil Acharya to introduce her and say a few words, and then the keynote.
Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak needs no introduction. She is known to everybody. She is whatever she is doing, not for the people in villages, but for the whole world, that she is protesting against all kinds of evils. She is protesting against injustice. She is working for women, fighting for women, and fighting for the whole humanity. So she needs no introduction. That is all for Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak. Our love and regard for her.
একটুখানি মিষ্টি Publishers and Booksellers Guild থেকে গায়ত্রী দিকে কলকাতার মিষ্টি ত্রিদীপ দা থ্যাংক ইউ গায়ত্রী দি আর একটু মিষ্টি অনিল দাকেও থ্যাংক ইউ অনিল দা over to you গায়ত্রী দি
I'm of course delighted to be here. I have in fact a very strong sweet tooth, so I think you found the appropriate present for me rather than a more intellectual something that I would put, because I don't really think of myself as an intellectual. I think of myself as a classroom teacher. It's difficult for me to give a keynote, especially since Anil Acharya, who more or less believes that I could give a keynote at a moment's notice, more or less asked me to give this keynote a couple of days ago. So I really don't think that I may not need an introduction, but I don't really think I'm the appropriate person to give a keynote to something as extraordinarily powerful and long-lived as the Kolkata Book Fair. I'm a Calcutta girl. I went to Presidency College in the 50s. I left while I was in fact doing my MA in 61 So my involvement with the book fair, not as someone in a wheelchair with whistles blowing saying, hey, side there, not like that, but just as a quiet, young, politicized intellectual has been for a very long time. I should tell you also that I have a problem with giving this keynote because the man who was almost like an elder brother to me, Jacques Derrida, when he gave a keynote here, the damn place burnt down. And so I'm afraid, since I am so deeply influenced by him, that if I give a proper keynote, perhaps the place will burn down. We don't know. So I want to avoid that problem. যে পুড়ে যেন না যায় ভাই সবকিছু আগুন যেন না জ্বলে this is my hope. Therefore keynote-টা আমি একটু দেওয়া একটু অ্যাভয়েড করছি একটু এড়োচ্ছি এড়োনা এটাই আমার অভ্যাস প্রথমত সব কিছু এড়িয়ে চলি দ্বিতীয় sorry I'm supposed to speak in English. So I'm actually avoiding giving a keynote as I give a keynote. There will be some highly theoretical persons in the audience who will know that this is a deconstructive gesture. But don't you expect Gayatri Spivak, who is giving a keynote after Derrida burnt the place down, to be a little deconstructive? Of course. So therefore, I would say that giving a keynote, which is the avoidance of a keynote, is quite appropriate for someone like Professor Spivak. I would say that our keynote today, if there were to be one, should concentrate on the fact that the book has changed as the years. I was born in 1942. As the years have passed, the nature of the book as an object has changed profoundly. And also, in our state, as in the entire world, the world is so divided by race, class, gender, caste, that what the book means depends very much on that as well. My father's mother, who was very, very smart indeed, and who, in fact, I resemble physically, could read a little, but she couldn't write. Vimala Sundari Devi. Very smart woman, but she did so. From her point of view, there was nothing like a book that she owned. So just in 2 generations, my place is so full of books that I've willed my books to various places. This is a change, in fact, of upward class mobility through the academic enterprise. That's a very different thing. I may be her granddaughter, but I'm a completely different class, even a different race, if I may say so. I have 10 more minutes, so I'm not going to explain that difficult thing, but there is such a thing as upward race mobility. When I first went to South Africa, I had to go in 1991, invited by the African National Congress as an honorary white. My grandmother could not have been an honorary white. So therefore, that's another situation. I'm going to the border of Birbhum and Jharkhand tomorrow, right? Early in the morning. There are no books in these villages at all. There are no books. So there, the relationship of a book to the children, the students, is like this is the relationship. Although the book has to be returned, this is very, very different from the fact that once you cross over into a little a situation where the class is different, people hardly read books. I hardly read books these days. So therefore, the idea of how we should think about how the book is really has to be thought through in many different ways. But my own understanding of the book in Paschim Bongo, is that our general culture is Bhadraloki culture. And within the Bhadraloki culture, this is unusual, in West Bengal is unusual here. Within the Bhadraloki culture, there is a small group, intellectually elite, which really cares about the book, and they're in this room. You have been extremely generous to me by filling this room, wanting to listen to these words that you could have uttered yourself. I'm not saying anything new. So therefore, when I think about how to change thinking about books, I have to really think about the world as a very, very different kind of place. I say to my students at Columbia that I will not use PDF because I want them to write on not just PDF annotation, but I want them to hold the books in their hands, and I want them to write in the pages of the books. And I want them to keep the books, because the way I want to teach, I tell them, you're not going to say, after you've taken my course, in 2 years, someone asks you, what did Spivak teach? You're not going to say, I'm blanking, which is an answer they quite often give when I ask, well, what did you learn in your literary theory course? I'm blanking. That is something that can happen if you forget about the importance of books. But let me also say that we must be able to imagine a time when there will be no books. I live, as I say, a large part of my life every year. I come 5 to 9 times to go to my schools, living in a place where there are no books, no newspapers. I do know what it is like to live without books, but I seem to be all right. And in the old days, the children used to hang on the windows to see me write so fast, because in the evening I would be doing my deadlines, and I would let them stand there so that they could see that it was possible to write cursive very, very fast, because not only are there no books, except textbooks, which you have to return to the government, not only are there no newspapers, nobody can write fast. Nobody. I'm talking even about the government officers who come to they gave me this, the block development officers, who retain some degree of idealism because it's the lowest civil service post, right? Most of them lose it as time goes by. Even they don't write fast. So the whole situation of reading, writing in the world, where the largest sector of the electorate all over the world, where countries say they're democratic, do not know how to write fast, do not know how to read, have no books, and therefore can be made to vote for tyrants because they do not know how to vote either. Therefore, I will say that when we think about how to rethink the book and imagine a time when there will be no books, remember that some of us live in times where there are no books. So therefore, this difference, I mean, some of you are not liking what I'm saying, I can see. What can I tell you? Try to be able to imagine people unlike yourselves. But at any rate, I will say that when we think about the book, then, just as when we think about anything, we should be able to think about the fact that what we are talking about is not monolithic, and they don't resemble me. They don't resemble me. That's our problem. We think everyone is more or less like ourselves. That is not the case. I believe I have used up my 15 minutes. Thank you very much for the sweets. Thank you very much, I suppose, for how much time? 5 more minutes. So shall I stop, then you can do Q&A? Okay. Okay, so what I'll do, আমি চুপ করি, আমাকে আপনারা প্রশ্ন করুন, হ্যাঁ, কিউএনএ করুন, এবং প্রশ্ন বাংলায় করুন কি ইংরেজিতে করুন কি ফরাসিতে করুন কি আস্তে আস্তে করলে জার্মানিও করতে পারেন, হ্যাঁ, সুতরাং আস্তে আস্তে প্রশ্ন করে চলুন। হিন্দিতে তো করতে পারেনি, প্রশ্ন করুন, দেখি আমি পরীক্ষা পাশ করতে পারি কিনা।
Ma'am, I'm a very big follower of you for a long time. Would like to hear the books are just instruments through which we learn. Even if there are no books, our thoughts will transform. And what is that without books as instruments, if you leave that aside, whether it's physical, digital, or however form it may take, but its key role in shaping our thoughts and the culture itself. If you can kindly throw some light on that.
Shall I take 3 questions? 3 questions. Give me 3. See, there are lots of questions. তুমি এদের করবে? তুমি এদের recognize করবে? The down again.
If you please tell your name and identify yourself.
Pinaki.
Pinaki Ganguly.
এই পিনাকি কি সে রায়গঞ্জের? আচ্ছা, ঠিক।
নমস্কার, আমি বাংলায় প্রশ্নটা করছি। আমার নাম বিনয় জয়সওয়াল। আমার প্রশ্নটা এটা, আপনার কি মনে হয় যত আমাদের বইগুলো কমে যাচ্ছে আমাদের মধ্যে ভালোবাসাটাও কমছে? এটাই প্রশ্ন।
সুন্দর প্রশ্ন, আরেকটা চাই।
Hello, Professor. I am Monami, and you talked about how you encourage your students at Columbia to use books and annotate on them. So I was thinking of the economics of it, how expensive these theoretical books have become over time, and how much is it viable for students to buy physical copies of books, because I have been trying to get your Death of a Discipline for years, and I cannot afford the foreign publication. So what are your thoughts about that?
Okay, Onami, Seagull actually brought out a Death of a Discipline. It's much cheaper. Go through Seagull. So one of the ways in which you reduce the price is by also publishing in India, making it possible. So first of all that. Second of all, generally speaking, I took a look at you, you don't look to me like a poor girl. Generally speaking, the middle class women spend, I'm looking at all of the women sitting in front, they spend money on jewelry. So rather than spending money on jewelry or trousseaux when you're getting married, etc., keep that money for books. It's not easy, I have supported myself since I was 17 years old. 5খানা টিউশনই করতাম 17 বছর বয়সে। সুতরাং the way in which you use your money is something I know very well. What are you ready to give up? So, and I always say to my students, don't look above and say, oh, they have more money. Look below. There are people in the world who have less than you have. আচ্ছা বিনয়, আপনি যে ভালোবাসার কথাটা বলেছেন, আপনি বলছেন তো আমাদের নিজেদের মধ্যেও ভালোবাসা, সেই কথা বলেছেন তো, তাই তো? শুধু বইয়ের ভালোবাসা নয়। Let me say that I want to say yes to this because, addressing Pinaki's question as well, see, books are not just instruments for learning. Books are not, it depends on what kind of a book it is. Isn't that so? I have to teach my students to read social science books differently from the literary. The thing about the literary, and I am after all a literature person, the thing about the literary, and in Bengali, for example, the word literature is not engraved in stone. There are many different kinds of words in the world's wealth of languages which signify something like literature. It's not even literature. Literature is a very time-specific word in English, as we all know. So the word আমাদের জন্য হচ্ছে শহীদ করে, তাই না? সকলেই জানে সাহিত্য শহীদ, ঠিক হয়। Literature, on the other hand, I'm not talking about literature in terms of letters. I'm talking about the literary as it has been explained to me by my teachers. The literary is something that learns from the singular and the unverifiable. This is the hardest thing in the world. This is the hardest thing for us to be able to judge, to learn how to judge from the unverifiable. The literary cannot make a truth claim or a validity claim. What does it make? The imagination is neither rational nor irrational. Why is it there? So to an extent, it is indeed the instrument of love, not just learning. Because learning can be, and this is what's happening all over the world. I've been teaching full-time now for 56 years, and what is happening is that learning is changing into control. You control the text, whereas the literary can teach you, if you don't trivialize it yourself. The literary can teach you to surrender yourself to the text which is someone else's, and to learn, as I said, from the unverifiable. This is a hard thing. And that's why I say that I consider myself a classroom teacher, a bad teacher, but nonetheless a serious teacher. So therefore, my answer to all three questions is that don't look above and don't begin with a complaint. You're not showing yourselves in this room as India as a poor country. India presents itself abroad as not a poor country at all. Think of how you present yourselves outside. So therefore, don't look above, look below there, and think about how you will acquire that difficult object called a book. And most of us also publish in India so that you can catch something. And another thing is, don't begin with a complaint against the guest. That's not a good idea, number one. And number two, that indeed the literary is an instrument of love, and one must really think about the world's wealth of languages. Think of the African languages. How are oralities represented in those wonderfully powerful language situations? And finally, it's not just an instrument. The book is not an instrument. The book by itself, especially the literary, exists so that we go toward it rather than instrumentalize it to use it for a purpose. Thank you.
আমরা এরপরে প্রেস কর্নারে গায়ত্রী দিকে নিয়ে যাচ্ছি। সেখানে আমরা প্রেসে কথা বলবো, আমরা বাংলা বই নিয়ে কথা বলবো, বাংলা ভাষাতেই কথা বলবো সেখানে। তো গায়ত্রী দিয়ে আমাদের সবাইকে আমরা বোধহয় কালকেও দেখতে পাবো গায়ত্রী কী বলছেন, কেন বলছেন। আজকে তো আপনারা শুনলেন কি বললেন, ওখানে আমরা থাকবো। আমি গায়ত্রীদের পক্ষ থেকে, গিল্ডের পক্ষ থেকে সেক্রেটারিকে, আমাদের প্রেসিডেন্টকে, সুজাতাকে, all the members of the guild and the executive committee members, we give our respect and our thanks for organizing this wonderful function.
Thank you, Gayatri Di.